St. Augustine, Florida is a city steeped in history and in ghosts. Its Spanish colonial past whispers tales of pirates, plagues, and ancient forgotten rituals. Yet, even among its myriad haunted locales, one name stands out shrouded in whispers and fear: Emberwood Manor. Built in the late 1700s by a wealthy Spanish sugar merchant, the manor was known for its dark past. Rumors of slaves vanishing, of children seeing things that drove them to madness, and of a pervasive, suffocating sorrow that clung to its very stones. The current owner, a reclusive historian, has recently reopened its doors for a groundbreaking investigation, hoping to finally either prove or disprove the legends that have plagued her family for generations. Our protagonists are the Spectral Truths team, Dr. Reese Thorne, a renowned parapsychologist with a reputation for scientific rigor; Chloe Vance, a sharp, intuitive medium who struggles with her gifts; and Marcus Mac Jones, the pragmatic tech expert, armed with an arsenal of cutting-edge ghost hunting gear. Their mission, a 3-day, tonight deep dive into Emberwood Manor, live streaming their findings to millions of eager viewers. Asterisk from the moment they stepped inside. The oppressive heat of the Florida summer was replaced by an unnatural chill. The air, heavy with the scent of magnolias and something indescribably metallic, seemed to thicken around them. Max EMF readers immediately spiked in the grand foyer, registering energy levels far beyond any natural explanation. But Dr. Thorne, ever the skeptic, attributed it to faulty wiring or atmospheric interference. The first day was a cautious dance between skepticism and undeniable phenomena. Unexplained footsteps echoed from empty rooms. Disembodied whispers, too faint to discern, drifted through the halls. Chloe, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions she couldn't place, grew increasingly withdrawn, her intuition screaming at her to leave. Asterisk as night fell. The team set up their base in the dilapidated drawing room. The antique piano in the corner, its keys yellowed with age, began to play itself a slow, mournful lullaby that seemed to vibrate directly in their chests. Mac's equipment captured clear EVP electronic voice phenomena in the nursery. Children were said to have seen the smiling lady. The voice was soft, melodic, yet utterly terrifying, repeating a single, chilling phrase: she wants her song. She was her child, but the true horror of the first night wasn't in the obvious manifestations. It was in the subtle psychological torment. Dr. Thorne began to experience vivid, waking hallucinations, glimpses of himself, much younger, playing the very lullaby on the piano, his hands covered in blood. He dismissed it as sleep deprivation, a trick of the mind. But Chloe, watching him, knew better. The manor wasn't just showing them ghosts. It was beginning to reach inside them, planting seeds of terror, blurring the lines between their reality and its ancient, malevolent history. As part 1 concludes, the lullaby grows louder, and the lights in the drawing room flicker out, leaving the team in absolute darkness, surrounded by the haunting melody. Asterisk, the second day at Emberwood Manor stripped away all pretense of scientific detachment. The entity, no longer content with subtle hints, began to show its true terrifying power. The house had shifted. Always they had mapped meticulously now led to dead ends. Doors vanished, replaced by solid, cold stone. The manor was not merely haunted. It was a living labyrinth, twisting itself around their perceptions. Chloe, using her heightened senses, began to sketch images she saw in her mind, grotesque, elongated figures with featureless faces adorned with Spanish moss, performing rituals under the ancient oak trees. She found an old, faded map hidden in a floorboard dating back to the manor's construction. It showed not just a house, but a network of underground tunnels, leading from the slave quarters to a hidden central crypt beneath the grand staircase. Asterisk, as they ventured into these forgotten tunnels, temperature plummeted to an impossible degree. The air became thick with the smell of rich, damp earth and something sweet like rotting fruit. They discovered ancient, crude altars carved into the rock, adorned with dried flowers and brittle bones, not human, but something disturbingly large and unknown. The walls of the tunnel were covered in a language of symbols, not Spanish, but an ancient, pre-colonial script. Dr. Thorne, despite his escalating fear, felt a surge of intellectual fascination. This wasn't a standard haunting. This was a site of power, a conduit for something far older than the manor itself. He theorized that the original sugar merchant, driven by greed and a desire for dominion, had tapped into an ancient force, an entity worshipped by the indigenous tribes, twisted it for his own dark purposes and used the manor as a focal point. Missing slaves, the mad children, they weren't victims of ghosts. They were sacrifices. Max Tech, once a source of comfort, became a source of horror. His night vision cameras began to show grotesque, skeletal figures dancing just outside the range of their flashlights, their movements erratic and inhuman. Audio recordings captured not just voices, but a deep, rhythmic thump-thump-thump, like a colossal heart beating beneath the foundations of the house. The entity's presence intensified. It began to manipulate their memories, twisting their personal fears against them. Chloe saw her deceased parents, their faces contorted in agony, pleading for her to join them in the darkness. Mac began to hear the relentless ticking of a clock, a countdown to an unknown doom. And Dr. Thorne, he saw his own ambition reflected in the eyes of Lord Emberwood, the original owner, whispering promises of forbidden knowledge. If only he would fully surrender his part to reach its climax. The team is separated by the shifting walls of the manor. Chloe, trapped in the nursery, hears the lullaby again, but this time the voice is calling her name, beckoning her to play. Mac is lost in the endlessly morphing tunnels, feeling unseen hands grabbing at his ankles. And Dr. Thorne, standing alone in the hidden crypt, realizes with a chilling certainty that the manor doesn't just hold an entity. The manor is the entity, and it is finally, truly awake. The final hours at Emberwood Manor were a descent into the maw of something ancient, something that had patiently cultivated its hunting ground for centuries. The team, fractured and mentally tormented, faced not just a haunting, but a sentient ecosystem of MALEVOLENCE. Chloe, drawn by an irresistible force, found herself at the antique piano. Her fingers, guided by an unseen hand, began to play the haunting lullaby. But this time it was more than just a song. It was a key. With each note, the ancient, moss-covered oak trees outside the manor began to writhe, their branches reaching, their roots tearing through the very foundations of the house, like immense skeletal fingers seeking to embrace Mac, lost in the underground tunnels, found himself surrounded by grotesque, humanoid figures made of entangled roots and Spanish moss. They didn't move fast, but they closed in with an inexorable, silent hunger. Their hollow eyes fixed on him, he realized with a jolt of primal terror that the symbols he'd seen weren't just carvings. They were warding signs meant to keep this ancient entity contained. And the ghosts of Emberwood Manor, they weren't spirits of the dead. They were fragments of absorbed consciousness, the souls of those who had succumbed, now forced to serve as extensions of the root-bound entity. Dr. Thorne, trapped in the crypt, made a final, horrifying discovery. Beneath the main altar, he found not bones, but a massive, pulsating root system, glowing with an unnatural, sickly purple light. This was the true heart of Emberwood. It wasn't just connected to the house. It was connected to the entire swamp, drawing life and consciousness from everything that died within its reach. The original Lord Emberwood hadn't controlled this entity. He had merely been its first true vessel, opening the door for its eternal hunger. The entity's final act was one of absorption. Mana groaned, shuddered, and began to collapse inward, not from decay, but from being consumed by the very thing it had housed. Chloe, her eyes now milky white, continued to play the lullaby, her body slowly becoming one with the piano, her skin turning to bark, her hair to moss. Mac, fighting his way through the root creatures, was pulled down into the shifting earth, his final scream choked by the rich, damn soil. Dr. Thorne, witnessing this ultimate horror, desperately tried to transmit his final findings, his hands shaking violently as he pointed his camera at the pulsating root system. His final words were not of scientific discovery, but of desperate, shattering fear. It wasn't a haunting. It was a farm. It was cultivating us. It never wanted us out. It just wants to grow. The feed cut to static, then to a single, unmoving shot of the now demolished Emberwood Manor, completely overgrown, reclaimed by massive, pulsating oak trees. The lullaby could still be faintly heard, carried on the humid Florida wind. Emberwood Manor now lies dormant, a picturesque ruin swallowed by the Florida swamp. The legends continue, whispers of spirits and dark rituals. But the true horror is far more profound. It's not just a ghost story. It's a testament to a parasitic consciousness, ancient and insatiable. That has merely returned to its patient slumber, its roots now deeper. Its reach wider. Next time you hear a strange lullaby in the quiet of the night, or feel an unnatural chill in the humid air, remember Emberwood Manor, remember the root, because some places don't just hold secrets, they hold a hunger, and that hunger, it demands to grow. Don't listen to the song, don't touch the roots, and never ever awaken what truly sleeps beneath the Spanish moss. Asterisk.